there cheering for you. We're thrilled to have you here, and I'm thrilled to have you here as a Cowboy fan. I'm thrilled to have you here. Can you imagine that?
Well, I want you to know that I grew up in Northeast Texas. Is my mic on? Yes. And so I'm not a big fan of the Dallas Cowboys, but I am from East Texas. I played at SMU. And we played in the Cotton Bowl, believe it or not, which is where the Cowboys actually played for a while. And our last 2 years, my junior and senior year, we played in Texas Stadium. So I know all the Cowboy players. The Cowboys have a great tradition. There's no doubt about it. But from where I'm from, everybody's Cowboy fans. I grew up as a Patriots fan because my brother played for the Patriots for 8 years. So, and he's 10 years older than I am. So you know I'm a Patriot fan. I love the Patriots.
Understandable.
Well, let's talk about this week because I think it's a very interesting matchup. You've got Dallas starting the season 0-2. Where you've got the Texans starting the season 2-0, and they look really impressive, and they face off against each other in week 3. This is a battle of, the state that does everything big.
I know, and it's, when you talk about the Texans, and, they're now, of course, in Houston, Texas, which is where the Oilers started out at, and the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, have lost a lot of their swagger. I mean, they used to own Texas, basically. Now you have the Texans, which are trying to say, hey, we're here, we're going to stay here, we're here to stay, and you got to come down and you got to kick our butt. I mean, they have proven that they can play big football because Indianapolis Colts, I was out there with Jim Irsay, who was a teammate of mine at SMU, and the Colts, in my opinion, they are the elite team in the NFL right now. And unless the Cowboys can come out and show that they are the team that a lot of people predicted them to win, to go to the Super Bowl, maybe win the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, of course, is in Dallas this year.
And that would be me.
That would be you, yeah.
I did predict them to represent the NFC.
They have problems, and I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, but I think it's leadership, which is similar to the problem I think the Giants have. The leadership problems can keep you from winning those close games, can have you playing well one game and getting blown out the next game. And you talk about Antoine Rose speaking up. I mean, the reason it's a big deal is because no one else on the team is speaking up. I mean, if you're getting your butt kicked, everybody should be speaking up and saying the exact same thing. From head coach all the way down to the equipment manager. We got our butt kicked and we got to get it together.
All right, now I'd be remiss if I didn't want to talk to you a little bit about the 86 season. As I grew up here in New York, obviously, and even though I was a Cowboy fan, obviously, I saw the Giants every week. One of the greatest defenses I ever saw in my lifetime. The thing that always still stands out to me more so about just that season was how good the level of competition was in the NFC back then. You had obviously the Bears the season before that, the 85, great team. The Niners were great during that time period. The Redskins were great during that time period. Tell us a little bit about that season. Was there a feeling of confidence from day one of training camp that we're the team to beat this year going in? Forget the Bears, forget the Niners, forget the Skins. This is our year, or was it a thing that it developed more as the season went along?
Well, the beginning of that season goes all the way back to the Chicago Bears game. The game that we lost 21-0 and 62 below.
With the ridiculous wind. Yes. There was a Brad Maynard had, I believe, a punt go over his head or something crazy like that.
He actually missed the punt. The punt was partially missed. But that game was 62 below 0 in Chicago. We lost 21-0. And after that game, I remember Harry Carson, who we talk about leadership, was considered one of the leaders on our defense. He says, guys, I want you to remember this. Remember what happened out on the field. How bad you feel right now. Come into next season ready to go. We came out that next season. We lost the first game, believe it or not, to the Dallas Cowboys. It was 30-31. I mean, it was one of those high-scoring games. We went on a 9-game winning streak. We lost to a Seattle team, which was not very good. And then we won every game after that. We ended up 17-2, which was a great season. We shot the Redskins in the NFC Championship game. We annihilated the the 49ers 49-3 in the game where Joe Montana got knocked out.
Jim Bird, right?
Jim Bird hit him hard.
Oh, absolutely hammered him. Poor Montana, he must still see either Leonard Marshall or Jim Bird in his nightmares at least once or twice a year.
And you talk about a team that was on a roll. It just goes to show you that we had never really had a good offensive team, but our offensive team gelled in 1986. The last game of the season, we scored 55 points. Then we scored 49 points against the 49ers. 17-0, 17-0 against the Redskins, and of course the Super Bowl we scored 39 points. And that's getting it done on offense. And that was really the difference because we really never had an offense was that productive over all the years. Even though we had defense, every year our defense was ranked number 1, number 2 in the NFL. You know, everybody talks about the Giants linebackers or whatever. We had a very good overall defense, but our offense was never really there. In '86, it came all together, and you just look at the record, and everything speaks for itself after that.
You mentioned Harry Carson, and I want to bring this full circle to where we are today, and the events that have taken place this week with Antrel Roll, and the comments that he made after the very disappointing and embarrassing loss to the Colts. And I think it's interesting because I'm getting the sense that you commend him for stepping up to the table and saying what he said. Today I saw Carl Banks. Carl Banks commended him. Young man, you stick with this. You do this. You become a leader in that locker room because Antonio Pierce is not in there anymore. Michael Strahan left years ago. We need this. You continue. You bring that swagger. But you hear the fans are disappointed. The fans feel that now there's dissension. I didn't see it today, but I think it's interesting. Carl Banks and yourself are commending Antrel Roll for how he really voiced his opinion. If you could elaborate on that.
Well, if you were to take anybody from the 1986 team and the 1990 team, which is the only teams I can speak of because I know those guys, is that every one of them, from the head coach down, Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, Romeo Crennel, Tom Coughlin, who was part of that team, all the way down to that 53rd man on the team. They would always say to you, if you ask them, either we played well or we got a butt kick, we need to improve, we need to keep working. No one was afraid to speak out. And one of the things that I've noticed with this team is that going all the way back to last year, remember the Giants started 5-0 last year, is that there seems to be, for whatever reason, a lack of anyone willing to say we are not getting it done. For whatever reason, whether it's we're not working hard enough in practice, whether we're not making plays, whether we're not making tackles, to be able to say something. I remember we were like getting our butt ran on us pretty hard against the Cleveland Browns. This is going back in the day. And Terry Kennard, who was a free safety for us, he basically got on the linebackers. He said, "What the heck is going on here?" I mean, they're running right up the gut. I mean, this is a guy that was drafted, I think, in 1985 or whatever, first round pick or whatever. But, he was not a linebacker, which is we were considered the leaders of the team, but he spoke out. Strong safeties, defensive linemen. I mean, no one was afraid to speak up and say, when we're getting our butt kicked, we got to step up and do something. And for whatever reason, on this current Giant team, this team won the Super Bowl in 2008.
Right.
Okay? A lot of those guys are still there. But where are the leaders? They lost Michael Strahan, who we all know was a fantastic player and a good leader, very good leader. They lost, of course, Antonio Pierce, who was a very, 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 very vocal leader. And where is there anyone? Antrel comes out of nowhere. And he says what everybody out there, all the Giant fans are thinking the same thing. And they ask me all the time, who is the leader of this team? Does anybody know? Can anybody tell me who is the leader of the Giants team right now?
Well, I think Justin Tuck kind of inherited that role, and I think a big reason is because, he was under the wing of Michael Strahan. I don't think Justin Tuck necessarily wants the role. And this is where, now my question number 2 to you is, I see Antrel Roll as a leader. I see Keith Bulluck as a leader. In fact, Hines Ward came out this week you know, the Titans lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hines Ward said that's a totally different team without Keith Bullock on it. And I'm not talking about him being on the field. I'm talking about his leadership and his presence in the locker room. And this is a guy who flies really low on the radar, and that's Deion Grant. So now you've got 3 new guys in this locker room. Let me ask you this. How difficult is it? You have the characteristics. You want to be a leader. You want to bring that into this organization in that locker room, but how hard is it to do when you're a newbie? You just made the transition. How difficult is that to do?
Well, I mean, I've never been in that situation. Well, maybe I have. I'll give you an example. I came in 1981. I was drafted in the 9th round. Lawrence Taylor was drafted in the 1st round. Lawrence Taylor, of course, we know has changed the way, the offenses look at, the outside linebacker position, blocking the weak side. I was a guy that came out of SMU. No one expected to make the team. I started 15 games my rookie season. I had 7.5 sacks. Lawrence Taylor had 9.5 sacks. We came out of nowhere, both of us, and we were both 2 rookie outside linebackers that led the Giants to the playoffs for the first time in almost 20 years. And we weren't very vocal. Lawrence was a little bit more vocal than I was, but the way we played, we did not accept the fact that, hey, we've been losing all these years. We had, Harry Carson on the team, Brad Van Pelt on the team, George Martin on the team, Brian Kelly on the team. But it helps to have, in my opinion, new blood that comes in, that will come in and will be able to not necessarily say that we got to win, say that we got to play better, say when we get our butt kicked, but will come out and try to do whatever they do. He went to the media. A lot of people don't like that. With the way things are in NFL right now.
There's Twitter.
Nobody wants to hear someone say something to the media, because what happens? The media, whoever said it to, they come back and say, hey, you hear what Anton Bowles said? You hear what so-and-so said? And it makes them look bad. Tom Coughlin especially, I'm sure he didn't want to hear that. But it needed to be said. I was out there at the Indianapolis Colts game. I sat on the 50-yard line, and I did not see one person get mad except for Brandon Jacobs. A lot of people say, okay, well, he's never should have thrown his helmet. I agree, he never should have thrown his helmet in the stand. But everybody should have been mad. If you were not mad, in my opinion, as a New York Giant player, then there is something wrong with you, because that was no fight.
No fighting the
No
dog.
fight.
No fighting the
You
dog.
want to see fight. I don't care if you give yourself beat 50-0. You want to see somebody fighting. You want to see somebody going after it. And speaking of fighting, and I have to say this, and I'm going to give a plug, is that we're having autograph signings. And guys, if you love the 86 team, 90-10, we're going to be signing autographs at Red's Restaurant in Fallstadt, New Jersey, which is a stone's throw from Giant Stadium. I'm going to be signing this coming week, the 26th. We have Terry Kennard, who is I just spoke about, that was very vocal when we were getting our butt ran on us, and Andy Head in the following week, which is October 17th. And we have our Alumni Day. I don't know if you probably know about this already. October 17th at Giant Stadium. So if you guys want to come out and meet some of the Super Bowl championship Giants and want to see some of the guys that you love and care about, and is not afraid to say when the team is doing good or when the team is doing bad, come and check us out. We love you. Thank you for all the Giant fans, and I hope to see everybody out at Giant Stadium. Let's get this thing turned around. It's going to take the fans. Hey, don't be afraid to say your team is not getting it done.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Byron Hunt, thank you very much for coming out with us tonight here at the New York Sports Rant.
I'm all pumped up.
It's hard not to be.
I want to put on the pads and go play.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more of the New Yorker Sports Rant here live at the Buffalo Wild Wings and Palisades Center. Thanks a lot. Frank, take it away.